Hello, it's Jay here again and welcome to another tutorial. We're still continuing on setting up our scene, and where we'd left off in the last video, we'd created the terrain, we'd added a texture, we'd added a skybox, and we also added fog to the distance. So let's go through a few more things that we need to set up. Now the first thing I'm going to do is come to Edit, and I'm going to come to Project Settings and Quality. Now, as you can see, we have a multitude of options, and mine's set at Fantastic at the moment, and that's our texture quality. And what I like to do upon choosing textures for any scene I create is to set the camera up something like this, where I can get a good view of the texture. And to check to see if I'm happy with it, I will often flick through these to see how they look at various quality levels. Because when we build this game, the user will have a choice of these options. And if I'm happy that the texture still looks good across all these levels, then I'll continue using it. And you don't have to, you can choose any preset you want, but I always like to build my games set to Fantastic so I can see the game at its very best while I'm creating it. And now we've dealt with that, let's deal with the ambient light. Now, as I explained in my last lesson, we have a directional light active only temporarily. It will be deactivated because we're building a nighttime scene. It's only in here at the moment while we create our terrain. And I'm going to come to Window and Lighting again, and we're going to have a look here at Ambient Source and Ambient Intensity. Now if I bring it to that position, the camera, so we can see the floor, the sky and the horizon. And as you can see, the ambient source is set to skybox. Now if I adjust the ambient intensity down and then up, you will see there's not much change. Now this may be different with the skybox you're using, and you may see a slight difference or even a vast difference. And if you're happy, once you've experimented with this value, you can leave it at that. But if you're like me and you're not really noticing a difference, you can click here, and I'm going to select colour, and as you can see there's a slight difference already. Now when I adjust the ambient intensity, as you can see, it can make a vast difference now. And we can also alter the colour, and I'm actually going to make the ambient, I'm going to set it normally to dark, right to the bottom here. And now I'll have a look at the intensity. It's really not changing that much. So let's come back, we'll adjust it back up again. Maybe we'll try something about here, and then we'll experiment again. Now I'm actually going to leave mine at 0. Let's just drag it down a little bit more. And I think I'm going to be happy at that. Now, obviously, you may notice the difference more or less in your project, as I said. But, you know, experiment with this source here until you get something you're happy with within your scene. And one more thing we'll cover in this video is rendering. Now this is probably something you won't want to adjust at the moment, but it may be something you want to adjust later on as you expand your terrain more. Now if I click on the FPS controller here and then the first person character, we get this. And this is what our camera is rendering. Now, for a large scene, like the one I've got, this would be perfectly fine. But if you're making a smaller scene, or even if you're making a large scene, where example there's maybe lots of trees or hills, so it still obscures your view of the terrain and the distance, you may want to adjust the clipping planes. Now, I would not suggest altering the near. I would leave that at 0.3, but the far for 1000 you may want to adjust. Now, again, experiment with this value, and you may have to change it numerous times as you create your terrain. But as you can see, we have it set to 1000 at the moment, and let's see what happens in the camera preview here when I actually change this number. So let's change it to a low value of 200, and then let's delete back, and you can see in the camera preview the horizon actually altering. Change it to a value of 50, 100, and let's try a value of 200. And as you can see, that I can still see far enough into the distance with a value of 200. Now this helps to optimize the game because you're reducing how much your camera is able to see and render at any particular moment. Now, like I said, this value you may have to change numerous times over the game creation process, but I really do advise you experiment with this because it can help, especially on much larger scenes. It can help a lot with the rendering and the performance of the game. And I think we'll leave it there in this video, and in the following videos we'll get on and add trees and grass and such like to our terrain. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you next time, and until then, bye for now.